Hello, this is Mike Lively, and today I'm going to show you how to make a 3D room in Flash Catalyst. Now, if you're looking at the image here, you're going, hey Mike, that's not a 3D room, but let's click it. And you click it, and boom, there it is. Isn't that super cool? Yes, it is. And let me go ahead and say that all this artwork was made by my son, James Lively. Here's his name right here. And it's nice to have an artist in the house, and since I have a large family, I have many of them. So let me point out a few things about the artwork real quick here. First of all, only this side of the artwork and this side of the artwork are finished. James is still working on this piece, and this piece. He'll finish that today. So you'll only be getting two of the finished pieces, but it'll show you how the actual work is done. And second of all, let's take a look real quick here. You'll notice that the wall itself, the back wall, is actually skewed. It's not quite where it needs to be. It actually needs to be pushed over a little bit that way to be centered, and we're going to show you how to do that in an upcoming video. Right now we just want to concentrate on building the room in Flash Catalyst and just show you how easy that is. So let me bring up a graphic real quick. So the particular room that we're looking at actually has 5 pieces. It has a back, has a top, a floor, and a right and left panel. And what you're going to want to do in Flash Catalyst is 2 things. You're going to want to, in a sense, rotate all of these pieces, side, left, right, bottom, top, together. And that's actually 2 movements. That's actually a rotation and a translation. Now we're going to find it's going to be pretty easy in Flash Catalyst to do the rotation. But in order to do the translation, that actually moving the pieces into position, you're going to need to bring that into Flash Builder and code that. Flash Catalyst Beta right now doesn't have the ability to do a 3D move. So we'll do that in Flash Builder. So hopefully in the next version of Flash Catalyst that 3D Move 3D function will be implemented, but for now it's not. So let's get to it. So I'm in Flash Catalyst right now, and this is the finished product. Let's go ahead and create a new project and show you how this is done. Let's go File, New Project. And we'll go ahead and save this, yes. And we'll stick with 800 by 600 and hit OK. And the first thing we need to do is import the 5 images that you're going to need to make your room. So you got to get an artist involved here, and they need to make the 5 pieces we talked about earlier. James has done that for me. Let me show you that to you real quick. So if I open up the folder James created, it's in Work folder. And in that Work folder is all of James's Photoshop work, and there's the 5 pieces I'm going to need. Back, ceiling, floor, right, and left. So let's pull that out real quick here. And all we have to do now is just import those images, lay them on top of each other in Flash Catalyst, and then rotate them to the correct positions. Then we'll bring that into Flash Builder, and we'll actually finish everything up. So let's start importing. So I just bring the first image in and just do an import and go right to James's Work folder. Here we go. And we'll start with the back. Now what I want to make sure that you understand, let's bring this over here. If you look at the image itself, you can see that that image has been bitmapped. It's a 512 by 512. And I'm just going to put it on the stage anywhere. I'm just going to put 150 by 50 so I can just overlap all the other 5 images. But it doesn't matter where I put them because I'm going to turn them into a component, and I'm going to, in a sense, use that component and move that around in Flash Builder. So let's move this down a little bit. So let's bring in the next one. File, Import. And we'll put the ceiling in. So you brought that in, you want to bring that right on top of the other one. And I typically want to make sure I go over here and I go right to the properties and make sure I've got the numbers typed in there so they're exactly overlapping. These have to exactly overlap. So it's 50. And now what you want to do is do that for the next 3 images. So go ahead and do that, and we'll come back when that's finished. So I've imported all my images into Flash Catalyst, and I have a little bit of problem here. If I go over to the Layers panel right here, I see that they need to all be named, and that's going to be very helpful when I bring that into Flash Builder. And I forgot to name some of them. I actually named the image, the right and the left panels, but forgot to name the rest of them. So let's come along here, and all you have to do to name is, well, I have to see them. So you can see that you have this visibility right here that turns things on and off. So if I click on that panel, it highlights that. Let's take that hasn't been named, and that's actually the floor. So let's double click on that and call that floor. And let's move that away. And there's the right panel, there's the left panel, and we need to name that's named. And here's an image, that's the back. So let's double click on that and call that back. And then we need to name the other one. What is that one? That is the the ceiling, so we'll just call that top. Okay, so we have our images named now. What we want to do is rotate them into position. So let's add that visibility back. There we go. That's pretty cool. And what I want to do now, let's just go ahead and rotate the floor. Now what we need to rotate the floor is 90 degrees. So let's just come down to the bottom and hit rotate. Before we do that, we need to turn all of this into a component. I can click the layer to select everything, or I can just drag over everything to select it. Okay? Once I've done that, I want to right click on my component and change it to a component. And now I have a generic component. So I can click one to go down. Now the reason I create this generic component is, in a sense, I want to move this around without having to worry about the code. If I turn it into a generic component, I can manipulate that in my Flash Builder code with other components. Now what I want to do now is, this you can see there's a layer over here with all my images in it. I want to turn this layer into a group because it needs to be a group to be interactive. So once again, I can just drag over to highlight everything. And I'm just going to right click and go group. Now you can't see that, so let me bring that down so you can. So right click and go group. And so now all of that's a group and I can interact with it. So let's create another state. So just go to duplicate state. Now I have two states that I can transition between, and that'll allow me to get my rotation. So what I need to do now is go to the bottom, expand this a little bit so I can start adding functions. So let's come down here. So at the bottom of Flash Catalyst, there's this wonderful little thing that you can click on. It's called Add Action. We're going to click on that first item. If you open up your Layers panel, you can see the image that you click on is highlighted. Now, if you can't see that, just come along here and click on the actual image that you want to work with. So once again, we want to work with the floor. We're going to rotate that 90 degrees. We're going to come here and click on Add Action. We'll just hit Rotate 90 degrees. And you should be going from transition 1 to 2. Now, if I play that, what will happen? Let's see what happens. Oh, that's now I wanted to rotate, right? I actually want to rotate it down. So I'm going to go to my properties and get the right rotation. Let's come up here to properties. Cool. Make sure you've clicked on the rotation. Let's bring up your properties. There you go. We want to rotate that down 90 degrees. So let's turn that to 90 degrees. There you go. And turn that to 0. And now let's run it and see what happens. There is indeed a rotation, and it seems like it disappeared. But it actually didn't disappear. What's happening is you're actually looking straight on, so it's actually facing you such that you can't see top or bottom. Now when we use Move 3D in Flash Builder, we'll actually translate that and you'll be able to see that layer. You want to do this for this next image, so let's go back to our Layers panel. And now in our Layers panel, just as you would in Photoshop, we're just going to remove the floor. And now we can work with the next image. And we'll finish this up in the next video.